Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kevin Smith, and I'm part of the marketing team here at RightData. So we're really excited to have this webinar today and to have each of you attending. This is a little different than some of the webinars we've done in the past. Frequently we'll present about a particular topic in the industry, or we'll have an analyst on or something like that, but this one's slightly different. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about our DataMarket product. And the difference is, rather than me as a marketing person speak about it, you're going to hear right from the creator of this. You're going to hear from Wasu Satnapalli, who's not only our CEO, but he's our chief architect. So what we wanted to do is walk you through the DataMarket product and talk about how this is different from some of the data catalogs that are out there, some of the key features that when we've shown it to analysts, they've been a little bit wowed, frankly. And we wanted to get this out to the broader world and show you what we've developed. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Wasu, and he's going to walk you through our DataMarket product. Please, if you've got any questions at all, go ahead and type those right into your GoToWebinar panel, and we'll get to those at the end. All right, Wasu, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin. Hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. I see probably the people join from different parts of the world. Let's get started. So is your company truly data-driven, or is it just an illusion? The notion of being data-driven starts with ensuring the right kind of data is available for the right people at the right time. It sounds pretty familiar, right? Well, most of you might agree, achieving this is not only straightforward, is not as straightforward as it seems. So please hear RightData's take on this. Thanks for being here. Now let's take a closer look at a typical business user trying to get their hands on RightData. Meet Sarah, an end user. She is on a mission to make a decision of the data that she got. But this journey is far from straightforward, as most of you might imagine. So let's first, have Sarah see what she has to go through in terms of finding the right kind of data. So as most of you know, regardless of the size and shape and industry that they belong to, the data silos and platforms being distributed is not something uncommon. So in this case, first Sarah has to navigate through a maze of data silos which are distributed, in this case the data is being distributed. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. Even if she manages to locate some data, it's often a struggle to understand the business context of it. Without proper metadata or descriptions, she does not have a clarity on what the data actually means. Moreover, she has no clue if the data she found is good quality and trustworthy. And last but not least, gaining timely access is yet another challenge. She finds herself waiting, in a waiting game, reaching out to a different IT people or data experts for, assistance, and which often delays her decision-making process. And after all this, Sarah needs a specialized BI skills like, dashboarding and, reporting, etc., to gain insights from the data. So it's not just about accessing data, as you know, it's about making sense of it for an effective business decisions. So as you can see, the journey of the business user in such a fragmented and siloed data environment can be extremely painful and complex at times. It's very time consuming. But fear not, as we explore this solution, we can simplify and streamline this journey for Sarah and also for your organization. You might be thinking, oh, this is a unique problem, maybe only exists for a lay user or a business user like Sarah. This issue is not isolated for a business users, as you could imagine. Similar challenges do exist for a downstream developers who are in need of data for their application development, or even the data engineers who are responsible for data infrastructure, And even the savvy business users with the hardcore BI skills like writing Tableau dashboards and Power BI dashboards, they also have a similar sort of problems. Now, let's take a step back. Let's zoom out and consider a broader organizational impact of Sarah's frustrating journey. So it's not just her struggle, it affects the entire company. So one significant consequence is the lack of data literacy. When business users like Sarah can't even access data on a timely fashion, she is forced to rely on the select few with specialized BI skills. This is going to create a knowledge gap within the company. And all this is impeding the data democratization, which is a nirvana state every data leaders actually trying to achieve, the ability for the data to be accessible to all. And as here are some of the statistics from leading market analysts like Gartner and Forrester. 54% of the executives actually report that the agility is a big problem. Adoption is another issue, and almost 32% of the data that's actually is being delivered by IT is underused, and there's a significant data sprawl. That's another big problem. These are some of the issues that we're running into as we speak. This is exactly where RightData's data market comes in. It is designed to bridge these gaps and streamline the data journey for all data stakeholders, ensuring everyone can access and understand and leverage data more effectively. Let's now double click and understand how DataMarket helps your company. So within DataMarket, there are different personas. Our vision is DataMarket is going to be made available for everyone in the company who is in need of data. So for us, any and everybody within a company requires data one way or other to make decisions. That's why our product is ungated, and anybody with Active Directory account, they would be able to access this platform. They become a visitor. As a visitor, within a data market, what can you do? You will experience a one-stop shop for finding business data. Our platform provides a user-defined interface, allowing you to seamlessly search and find the data that you need. But it doesn't end there. DataMarket goes above and beyond by offering you a comprehensive view of the data. You can review technical and business metadata, user ratings, quality score, descriptive statistics, even a preview of the data if you choose to. You can actually get a feel of the data. You might be wondering, okay, well, what if this is a highly sensitive or restricted data? So yes, we got it. We got you covered. We basically use different obfuscation method and encryption methods. So if there is anything that's non-public data that a visitor wanting to actually see a preview, they'll be seeing the synthetic data. But still, the idea is provide them a preview how it looks and feels before I say this is the right kind of data for me. And when you feel you found the best choice out of many of the data products that were presented, a simple click will allow you to initiate an access request. DataMarket seamlessly integrates an approval workflow with the domain owners, making the process more efficient and hassle-free. So far, the person that is interacting with the platform is a visitor. Once you, as a visitor, subscribe to a data product, you become a data consumer within our platform. As a consumer, you unlock a world of possibilities. Just to name few, as a consumer, you can explore a data lineage to understand where the data comes from, how it's transformed over the period of time. Also, the data is accessible with a much easier JDBC interface, which is our virtualization capabilities. What does it mean? So if your data could be coming from SAP, Snowflake, or Salesforce, or Redshift, doesn't matter. The data could be coming from anywhere. So by productizing data and listing as a data product within our data market, it becomes virtualized. So end user have only one way to access via JDBC. They don't need access to underlying platforms. That's the virtualization component of it. In addition to that, you can also expose data products as a REST API just by virtue of productizing data. that data set becomes a REST API interface, ensuring a seamless integration into your existing systems. If there are downstream developers wanting to use this data, access via API, it's a few clicks. And there's no need for writing program for each data set. That's the beauty of it. And here is where it gets more exciting. With the DataMarket's integrated wrangling features, you can create sub-data products. What does it mean? So I'm a visitor, I became a consumer of a data product, and it's giving me 80% of what I need. Oh, what if I can actually make some transformations and add a couple more fields? Maybe match the data with my own local data, and so that it can meet my specific business need. So using our platform, a consumer can actually wrangle data and then create sub-data products, their own versions of it, on top of the data that's already published. But we have saved one of the best features for the last. Meet Albus AI, our co-pilot. With Albus AI, you can really talk to data effortlessly, performing a natural language processing analytics using a generative AI capabilities. We're all living in the world of ChatGPT. By now, everyone, pretty much, even a non-technical person, know what ChatGPT means. So with this Albus AI, we are bringing an ability for data practitioners and data consumers to talk to the data in a secure manner, without sending the data out, without compromising the security. And using this, you can also, just like a ChatGPT, you can talk to the data, you can ask follow-up questions, you can provide the context, a whole 9 yards. The responses for the questions can be either in the form of a text or a tabular listing, or even a graph response, which I'll be excited to demo in a few minutes. So this is just some of the high-level features of our platform, if you will. All right. I think enough theory and slides. Let me get into the product and then show product in action. All right. I'm going to log into our platform and then start showcasing our solution. What I'm showing you right now is our DataMarket interface. It's more or less, if you can use Amazon, if you can use any of the e-commerce websites, you will be able to use DataMarket. That's how the DataMarket is designed. The whole idea of the DataMarket is for end consumers, regardless of the expertise, whether it's a savvy business user who know how to write the BI dashboards, or a data engineer who know how to write the program, all the way to the lay business user. They have no clue about writing any reports, and all they know is what they are looking for. So this is designed for everybody. Okay, what can you do? Once you actually log into this platform, you'll be Active Directory, you'll be authenticated using Active Directory. All the data products are actually grouped using so-called domain. What is a domain? A domain is a functional area. This is highly configurable. Within a company, they can decide at what grade they want to create domain. Per se, it could be finance or supply chain, retail, or marketing. Or you can even go down to the level of finance, general ledger, finance, receivables, and things like that. Or you can even go down to classify into HR restricted, HR public, etc. There is a free configuration capabilities for the end user, for the platform configurator, if you will. They can create domains and classify all the data products into different domains. Another beautiful part of having domain-centered approach is these domains will have a domain owners. And the domain owners, there are two types of domain owners. One is called a technical owner and a business owner. A business owner is a gatekeeper who basically have authority to say who should get access to this data set, and a technical owner who has the insights, has the data product configuration is being done correctly. So that's basically what the domain owner. So the beauty of the domain-centered approach is, not just classification and also grouping things. Also, you can actually maintain the access controls and give the ownership to the true owners of the data, in this case, the business owners. That being said, so these are list of data products. There are 32 data products available. It can be 300 within the company once it's actually fully configured. And by the way, one definition that I do want to mention, what is the definition of data product? This is often very controversial topic, and a lot of vendors have their own versions of it. Some, a data product is not a table in a database. And there are some people say that. Some people go all the way to my platform Snowflake is a data product, or a schema within a Snowflake is a data product. Our definition, where most of the majority of the industry is leaning towards, is a data product is an analysis ready data set and with additional properties where it is findability, accessibility, quality, business descriptions, glossary, explainability. These properties needs to be attached and packaged together. Then a data set becomes a data product. That being said, these are various data products, 32 different data products, and classified into different domains. Now I can filter, like how you go to Amazon, just filter data based on maybe some kind of a department, if you will. So in this case, I wanted to see all the data products which are sourced from Snowflake per se. There are about 6 products out of many which are coming from Snowflake. Or I only want to see public data. I want to see internal data, restricted data, or only data products which has a more than 70% good quality. There are various characteristics that you can actually filter on. Once you have done it, that's one way to actually narrow things down. Of course, you can also filter based on domain. Per se, if I only want to see maybe a federal government data, and these are the federal government related data sets, or if you want to see supply chain data, if there are any, and then you will see different kind of classifications, and then you will be able to look at the different products within the domain. And besides that, of course, the global search also allows you to do different types of searches. It could be an exact search, or a fuzzy search, or a semantic search. If I only want to look at car sales data, then I could just simply search for it, and I'll see all the sales data, or car or sales being part of the data product, or even the field level, it will go on and search for it. Okay, so with this, I found a product car sales data set per se. If I want to take that, if I click on it, and then I'm still a visitor, per se I have not subscribed to it, what can I see? I can see what domain this particular data product belongs to, what's the quality of the data, is this a live data, or something that's getting refreshed, where it is coming from, in this case SQL Server, what are the quality ratings. So somebody has given a quality ratings. This is just like a crowdsourced information where all the consumers within the company can actually give reviews and ratings on the product, besides the quality, which is automated process. And who is the business owner for this? Who is the technical owner? What's the description of the data product? All the information related to this data product in a summary view, you can clearly see it. Business metadata, this is the definitions of it. If you are basically sourcing data from a Snowflake, per se, Snowflake will typically have a table names and column names. Those table names and column names often not very explanatory. In this case, these columns are decently explanatory. And if you are sourcing from SAP kind of thing, and it's highly cryptic, and even a regular database designers, and they actually try to fit within the constraints of the database where the column names may not be as explanatory. The idea here is having a business name and business descriptions makes it extremely helpful for a business user, providing additional business context around it. And by the way, all this is how this got generated. We are using a large language models behind the scenes. As you productize data, automatically it creates the business names, business descriptions, it classifies the sensitivity, it also determines what's the domain, what data domain it belongs to, it captures the sample values, and all these properties. Creating a data product is straightforward. I'll quickly show you that at the end of the meeting as well. So as you could see here, these are the various properties that are automatically captured. This is extremely helpful information, me as an end user, to figure out what kind of fields I have, what are the business names and descriptions for each one of it. Also want to know what's the technical details behind it, which table it comes from, which column it comes from, and what's the row size, how many records I have, what is the total size, and which database it comes from. If there are any duplicates in this data set, it will show you the duplicates as well. And we'll talk about access method in a minute. Descriptive statistics is basically the profiling metrics of this data set. As you could see here, every column within this data set is being listed here with its business name and description. Also, it gives you information like how many nulls I have in this data set, in this field, how many distinct values, how many non-distinct values, and percentage zeros, min value, max value, every single descriptive statistic that gives you insights into the data is presented right here. Besides that, you can also get a distribution of the data. But say if you want to see all the cars by make, for say, I can get a distribution of how many cars I have by make. Honda, I have about 2,000 cars, 2025 cars. Nissan has 1958 cars. If I want to see all the Nissan cars, I can click on it and see the underlying data. Again, what am I doing here? I'm basically giving an end user an ability to gain insights into the data and to assess, is this the right kind of data for me or not? That's a descriptive statistics. Besides that, the quality metrics. So data quality metrics are something captured automatically. There is a schedule that you can define when you're productizing the data, and at that time, at that frequency, the data quality gets measured. Besides the descriptive statistics, in this case, it's 100% data quality. How there is one data set level rule that was created, 11 field level rules that were created. There is a very easy interface to actually create these rules. It's just a point and click and you will be able to create rules. Data preview. Again, I'm an end user. I just want to get a feel for the data. I have not subscribed to it, and then is this the right kind of data for me or not? In case if this data is not public, as you could see, the data sensitivity is public. If in case it's a restricted or a highly restricted or sensitive, those columns which are flagged as restricted, for say if there's a car sales commission is a restricted data, this gets encrypted, and there are different ways that you can actually, different algorithms that can be used. If it's internal, it will be masked, restricted will be encrypted, highly restricted will be obfuscated. There are different ways that you can the different methodologies and algorithms that you can use to mask the data and then maintain the sensitivity yet give transparency. Hitting that balance is extremely critical. And the lineage I'll show you in a minute. It is a better data product to see the lineage. So far, what I have done is, as a visitor, I'm just going through the data product that I feel is relevant for me and assessing, is this the right kind of data product for me? Once I know this is the right kind of data product, so let me just take a data product which I have not subscribed to yet. Let's take, per se, orders data. So if I take this data, and if I want to subscribe, once I decide this is the right kind of product for me, all I have to do is just click on this one button, subscribe. What does this do? This basically will ask you some information as a visitor who is trying to become a subscriber to this data, and you're asking a question. Is there a time period for your subscription? You want to give an unlimited access or no time bound, or you are requesting for access for maybe 1 month or 2 months. You can define how much longer that you want access for. You can put in your comments and say, okay, I need this data for my maybe order performance analytics. And then you can specify why are you actually looking for this data, what type of access that you're looking for. Are you looking for an API access or a JDBC access? You just providing all those details, you just click on a button, you will basically subscribe to you will click on subscription, and it will go through the workflow. A domain owner will actually review that, provided that particular request is something okay for a domain owner, they would approve. If not, they will reject with the reasons. So the whole workflow is all automated. So that's a life cycle in terms of a visitor becoming a consumer. Now I became a consumer. What can I do with it? So let's take a look at maybe we'll start off with the lineage, right? So once I know this is the data product that I actually subscribe to, I can actually see the lineage of the data product. Here's an example of a data product called, we just gave some kind of a technical name for it. What this data product is made up of is, if I go to the lineage, so here is our lineage screen where you get to see, here is our data product. And then I can expand further and see what links, where does it actually connects to. Let me just refresh this for a second. I can just simply click on it. It will actually provide where does it connect to. So in this case, this particular data product is fed from 2 independent tables, line items and orders. And then if you want to see the field level, you can expand to the field level. There are different ways to expand. You can use this button as well. And by expanding it, it is basically giving you a field level lineage and telling that in this particular case, the data product has order key, line number, and revised amount. Revised amount is a calculated data. So how does this being calculated? As you click on it, it will exactly tell you which are all the fields it comes from. In this case, the revised amount is coming from these 3 fields from line item and 1 field from orders. So this is going to very clearly give you a lineage and also give you impact analysis. If something were to change on any of this, what are the downstream products that gets impacted, etc. And by the way, how did we capture this? And this particular data set, this particular source is doesn't have to be individual tables. It could be a custom SQL where somebody has written a custom SQL. That SQL is being converted into this visual. I'll just show you real quick and how this particular SQL is being formed. I'll talk about the data product in a minute, but I just want to show you how the SQL looks like. In this case, I'm looking at data product called DP customer with calculations per se. If I were to look at this data model, this is actually, this particular data product is made up of this custom SQL. And I'll talk about how to create a data product, but in this case, this data product is created using a Snowflake SQL query that's written on a Snowflake. So as you can see here, there's a calculation that was done here to compute revised amount. Revised amount is a case statement that was written, and that's actually creating this computation. So imagine there are a bunch of KPIs with a complex calculations. So all these calculations can be graphically depicted in the form of lineage. That's the power of our platform. Okay. That being said, let me move on. So the next one that I want to talk about is I have let's take a call center data. Right? So I'll take a call center data, and here is a call center master. And as a subscriber, let's say I'm a developer. Just pardon me if there are people who are not developers here. Just bear with me for a couple of minutes. So there is an access methods, and this particular data product can be accessed via JDBC, which if you're a BI analyst, you can take this JDBC endpoint. You will be provided with the username, password. You'll be able to connect this data product to your Power BI, Tableau, or Alteryx, etc. If you are a developer, what can you do? These are APIs that were automatically generated. What are the APIs? You can get the row count, you can get the metadata, you can get the descriptive stats, quality score, and also API and also data API. So now let's take a look at this API. So if I want to basically test this API, I can just simply click on it, and it's going to open this window which says that we, as part of our software, that we are embedding Swagger. Swagger is a tool, open source tool that is allowed, that helps developers to test their APIs. So I'm going to use that and just to test this. Of course, once it is tested, you can take this API and embed part of a downstream Java programs or anywhere else. So let's just click on the open Swagger, and it's going to open this. How does it work? And then there's first authentication. The authentication meaning every time this is something that programmatically can be done. Authentication will actually create a token. So in this case, here is the token. I'm going to authenticate using this token. And this is something given to each subscriber. And this is uniquely created for each subscriber. So I now have a token that's created, and then I authenticate it. Now, for say my goal is to see a row count, how many records I have in this data set. I can just use this row count API, and I just go here, say try out, click on this data product, and then submit, execute. It's basically going to submit a query and then give you how many records in this data set. So using an API, you're able to capture what is the record count in that particular data set or a data product. If I want to get the metadata of that, same thing, give the data product ID, it gives you a metadata right here. Here is the metadata, field name, business names, descriptions, data types, the whole 9 yards. If you want to get the descriptive stats, same concept. Whatever that you have seen in that data market, you can actually capture via REST API to feed into the downstreams or use it for your downstream purposes. Is the power of the platform. This is all simple. You can actually use RESTful APIs. All right. That being said, let's move on. So we talked about the REST APIs, we talked about the lineage, we talked about having a clarity in terms of the business names, glossary, technical name, descriptions. Let's now talk about, once I subscribe, what else I can do. Let's take one of these data product that we have created. Firstly, there is a health diversity related data product. I'm seeing the data product, and there is an option called wrangle. As most of you know, wrangling is nothing but ability to take the data set and restructure on fly and then reformat it to meet your needs. That wrangling, right? Wrangling data. So in this case, this particular data product, I can take through a wrangling options to create sub data products. Why am I doing this? First, say here is the data, and then which gives me 80% of what I need. But I still want to add a few more, apply a few more transformations on top of it. Maybe marry with some data, maybe filter the data, and then create my own sub data product suits to my specific business need. So in this case, before I start transforming data, what can I do? First, I can click on each one of these fields and then get more details. By the way, as you could see here, this is a quality bar. This is going to tell you for each column, it's going to tell you how many valid values, how many null values, how many mismatched domains, invalid values. All this information is presented right here. So by clicking on each of these columns, you get the column details as well. What are the column details? How many unique values that I have? And then what is the distribution of the data? And then what pattern? What are the key statistics? All the metrics that gives you insights are right here, extension to the profiling metrics that you're seeing. But in addition to that, you can perform quite a bit of transformations here. Here is the transformations. You can change data type, you can change domain, or you can change some, you can trim the data, you can format data, you can cleanse this data by removing a column or replacing a part of the string, or a mask a particular part of the string, or a split the data. And they're like that, there are tons of transformations available. If there are transformations that are not available, which are in a graphical way, there is different SQL methods that you can use to actually transform data as well. Let's just take this example. I have a field called area health resource file release number. And this particular value, I want to split it based on a dash. As you could see, there is a separator of dash. I want to take this field and split into 3 different fields. All I would have to do is just go here and say cleanse, and then I will say split. And then it's going to give me, okay, split using delimiter or a split using position. In this case, a split using delimiter. My delimiter is a dash, and then number of columns that I want to create is 3. And then if I want to give names for each of the 3 columns that you can give, also if you want to remove original column, you can do that. Let's just say click on confirm. By doing it, it's going to take that one column and split into 3, keeping the original column intact. As you could see, here is the original column. Here are the 3 new columns that got created. Like that, you can replace the null, so you can actually do all kind of a cleansing activities or mashing and marrying activities, and call it is here is my sub data product. This is my health resource data set. It's not my health. It's a health data set for Wassel. Right? And then I can just give a tag for it, and I can give a description for it, and then just save. So by doing this, it's going to create a sub data product. Now, as you can see here, if I go back to my products, and then there is a section for sub data products, and here is the sub data product that I just created. This particular product is created using the main product that was listed in the DataMarket. So that's basically how you can use our wrangling option to perform. You take the data products that were already published in the DataMarket, that once you subscribe, you can apply transformations, you can create your own sub data products. All happens online, all happens using the compute that's already delivered, all happens with a transparency. That's the biggest thing. Now, let's talk about Albus. I did mention early part of this webinar, we have this Copilot called Albus. Using this, we actually use Albus and Copilot in many places within our software. One of the places is performing NLP analytics. So I'm going to take a data set called meteoroid landings. There is a data set that I have uploaded for the purpose of this, just so that it's interesting and everyone can connect to. And this data set is essentially all the meteoroids that were landed on Earth since first century, pretty much. And this data set includes name of the meteoroid, what's the size of it, where it got landed, the various details, and including the year and it landed, and the size in the sense weight, etc. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Albus in this case. Albus is our co-pilot. Using this, I'm going to ask natural language questions and get responses back. There are different ways to interact using Albus. You can do a push down using cache, or a in-memory operation, or a DB push down. Each of them has its own benefits. If the data has billions of records, instead of bringing the data into memory, if you want to push it into Snowflake or a Redshift and get the data based on the query, you can do that as well. Meaning Albus can generate SQL, Albus can also generate Python program. Let's just go ahead and use this example. I'm using an in-memory. I'm writing a question. So what is the data here? Just to see, here is the meteoroid names, and here is the longitude and latitude, and the size in grams, etc. As you can see, the data that I have is meteoroid mass, the weight is in grams. So I'm going to be asking a question here. I want to ask Albus to say, plot top 50 meteoroid landings on world map, actually, by its weight. So mass, by the way, typos and then grammatical mistakes and all just fine, because this is an NLP. So by asking this, essentially it is submitting this particular question to the backend and going to generate a Python program and give you a response back. So I'm going to show you, since I'm doing this live, I'm going to show you the response that it was created previously. So here is an example of a response it has created. It's going to present this particular map based on the longitude and latitudes that would actually exist in that particular data set. It's able to pinpoint exactly where the meteorite has actually landed with the color coding. Okay, so that's basically how the response can be obtained. So besides that, for say, instead of actually showing this as a dot, my goal is to show it in a bubble, per se. So I can rephrase the question to say, show the above chart with the size of the bubble maps to a meteoroid weight. So it is basically going to replot this particular chart by changing it from a dot to a bubble based on the size of the meteoroid, in this case based on the weight. And you can also ask a follow-up question, per se, show only top 25. It's going to narrow down and then show only 25. So the whole idea here is using a natural language, you can ask questions and get a response back. So if you there are different types of questions that you can ask. Per se, in this case, what's the most heaviest meteoroid landed on 20th century? It's able to give me what is the meteoroid that's actually landed in what year, what is its weight, in a tabular fashion. So this is how powerful the data this can be done. One last interesting part that I do want to show you. For each of it, behind the scenes, it's writing Python program or a SQL code. So in some cases, it may be writing SQL code if you choose to, because it depends on the setting. In this case, I choose in-memory operation. So it's able to write a Python code by taking this, in this case, 45,000 records, zapping into the memory, and then it's writing this particular code, running the code, and giving the results back. Same thing happened here also. For me to actually generate this plot, it has written this Python code with all these few clicks that I have done. And I don't have to be a Python programmer. I don't have to be a SQL developer to get a natural language, a response to a natural language. That's the beauty of the platform. Okay. That being said, let me just show another data set where I have some SQL related stuff. Per se, if I have maybe educational enrollments, let me just take this data product, enrollment data. This enrollment data set, education enrollments in New York. This is the data set that I have. And on this, there are some questions that we could ask based on in-memory, push down in database operation. Instead of actually pulling the data into the memory, you can push that processing to the database. Just to give you an example, Here is an example of a question that's been asked where show me the total grade 1 enrollments for Albany County. What is this data? This data is an enrollment data set for New York City. And if I ask that question behind the scenes, it has written this SQL. As you could see, it has written the SQL and then executed that particular SQL on top of the data and gave the data, returned the data and then formatted however you want it. Because my question here is a one-line response, it is basically printing it. If it happened to be a chart, it can also plot a chart. Or if it has to return a graph or a grid, it can return the grid as well. So this is how the Albus component actually works to perform natural language processing on top of data. So we are really thrilled about this capability, and this has been extremely well received. In the past 2 months that we launched this product, we already have 2 customers signed up for it, and then we're going to get started and then ramp up here. So that's about Albus. So now you might be wondering how this is all enabled. So what I showed you is the DataMarket. All these things are actually created a module called Data Factory. So within Data Factory, a module called Data Product Studio, and this is where the data products gets created. If you want to create a data product, and you would just first start up with where you want to create, which domain it belongs to. For say, if you want to create it in a sales domain, maybe let's create it in a supply chain domain. And then I want to call this as maybe this is a call center data. And then I can give some tags. And then there are different ways that you can actually create this data product using query, using transformations, or a streaming. There are some products that can be streamed from its source. We use behind the scenes Kafka to be able to stream the data so that your data becomes real time, or you can use query, which becomes alive, or if you want to use transformations where you can basically transform data at the time of querying, you can do that. There are many mechanisms that are available. Just for the demonstration purposes, I'm going to be using query option. Now let's say create. If I do that, and it is going to present me with a list of all the connections that are already established in the platform. I'm going to pick my Snowflake as an example. Within Snowflake, I'm going to look for a table called call centers. And that's actually in SF10. And here is my call center table. And what I'm showing you is how individual tables will be transformed into data products, right? By the way, it can be one table, it can be join of many tables. You can write a custom SQL, you can basically straight away use a visual option to build define what's the scope of my data. And all I'm doing is just selecting what are the list of columns that I'm interested in this, or if I want to set up all of them, I can do that. All I do is, next thing is I click on save. By doing this is a second part of our large language models, where using LLMs, we are recommending names for each of the columns. What are the column names? As you could see here, call center ID is a pretty straightforward one. Let's take a CC underscore division name, or a CC underscore marketing manager. So all these things are actually recommended by AI generated recommendations. And if you say, okay, I'm not liking this particular option, for example, this one, CC underscore manager, is created using something that's already saved in the database. If I want to use my generative AI capabilities, I can just click on using the generative AI, just give me a description. I can just click on it, and then it's going to automatically generate the name of that field, which is a business name with a business description on top of it, which is in this case, CC manager means manager of the call center, which is much more descriptive, and it gives you all a longer description as well what the CC manager means. If you don't like it, you can always make changes to this, and then you can say improve recommendations. By doing this improve recommendation, automatically it will take that particular data product, take that particular field for which I improve recommendation, it will remember next time. So it's not only recommendations, also you can improve recommendations and influence the recommendation engine by your own customizations. So that's how the business names gets generated. Once the business names are generated, you can take any of these data models that were created, and then you can transform into a data product. There are various steps within this transformation process. So one is this step, configure business metadata. This configuring business metadata will have various options. This is the classification part that I was referring to, where you can specify which fields are sensitive or are restricted. For example, maybe taxation is something internal or a restricted field. By doing this, as a taxation is restricted, the overall data product becomes restricted, and this particular field will be obfuscated and encrypted when you are previewing the data. So you can control what type of sensitivity levels by simple clicks, and behind the scenes we automate the process of encryptions, decryptions, as well as obfuscation and masking. And all these data domain predictions are also part of our automation process. And here is the consumption part, where you can create a live data product or a cache data product. And if it is a cache data product, how frequently you want to refresh the cache, or if it's the live data product, how frequently the active metadata, which is like a descriptive stats and quality score, needs to be recomputed. All these are the various settings that you can define. So descriptive stats is where all the descriptive statistics of the data set will be collected, and this is exactly what you've seen when you listed in the data product. And finally, the quality score. This is where you can write your own rules. These are the various rules. All these are configurable, which rules that you want to turn on, which rules you want to turn off, or if you want to create your own rule, all you just do is add rule and then create your own rule. This is a custom business rule. And then you can write your own rule expression. When state equals to Georgia, then my maybe cost of household should be less than or equals to 50,000, something like that. If you want to write your own rule, automatically the rule expressions gets actually translated into a human readable format, and these rules will be saved and these rules will be executed. Besides that, any rules that you're creating, you can also give some weightage, meaning for each of the rules that you're creating, you can say, is this a low in a weightage perspective, or a medium, or a high, or critical. Based on the weightage of the rule, automatically the score gets computed. As you could see here in the next screen, there is a score that got computed. The score that got computed is what determines how good the data is. In this case, 100%. If there is any bad data, it's going to tell you maybe it's 85% good quality. Why? One of the rules that's failed is a very high critical, very high from a criticality standpoint or a weightage standpoint. I'm going to reduce the quality score. So the whole idea here is it's not just creating a quality rules. These rules will have weights, etc. So that's how the data products get created. This is a quick journey. I just want to depict from an end-to-end standpoint how data products can be analyzed and understood. Also, how data products can be created using our simple to use interface. Let me just pause here. I know we got 10 more minutes, so I want to leave this remainder of the time for any questions that I can answer. Back to you, Kevin.
All right, thank you very much, Wasu. So I see we've got one question right here, and I'm gonna paraphrase. So it's basically, how does this differ from a data catalog tool like a Calibra, or I can't read what the other part is, but let's say from Calibra.
Got it. Okay. So I have a slide for it. Yes, this is a very frequently asked question. By looking at this, it sounds very familiar parts of it. It sounds like a catalog, right? That's the reason why when we go to market, we are saying we are next generation catalog, because catalog is basically good to find data, and catalog is good for a savvy business user or a developer or a data engineer. The whole idea of actually DataMarket comes in taking it further. How do you take it further? I'll start with an analogy. The analogy being, catalog is more like a cookbook. For say, if you are in the kitchen, you were in mood to create, maybe make pasta for your dinner. Catalog is more like a cookbook. It gives you specific instructions. What are the various ingredients? What are the portions? What are the steps to take to create to make pasta? So that's catalog. But what's the DataMarket? DataMarket, not just it has specifications, it also has ingredients in it. It's like a meal kit where it includes all the components and ingredients that are necessary in the right portions so that you can create you can make pasta and enjoy for dinner. You don't have to run around and then grab the various ingredients from a different stores and so on. So taking back, coming out of the analogy, how does this work? So legacy cataloging tools, typically like a Calibra and then Elation kind of tools, what they would do is they are offline tools. For say, if you're using Snowflake as your data platform, you're using a data set from a Snowflake, you found a table, and then if you want to know more about these tables and columns, you sign out of Snowflake and go to the Calibra, put it in all words, and then find out what each field means, understand quality, etc. Okay, this is now I understood. I come back to Snowflake and start using it. So it's not integrated. The data and metadata, quality score, descriptive stats, and all the information that is necessary for the data to transform into a product is not there. So in case of legacy cataloging, that's what is happening. It's like an offline tool with the DataMarket. All the business names, descriptions, quality score is attached to the data itself. You can enablement of the data is what is happening with the data products. Essentially, with the DataMarket, we are productizing data. With the legacy catalog, you just have a catalog of all the information about your data set. That's exactly the fundamental difference. Hope that clarifies. Whoever asked the question, if you have a follow-up, please do, or any other questions.
Let me go to the next one. One just came in here. Hey, Wasu, do the NLP models classify PHI data? I see PII type covered in the metadata. Just wondering if PHI is also covered for healthcare organizations.
Yes, answer is yes. So there are two parts to it. Number one, within the platform, as you take your data set and we scan through PII detection and PHI detection, automatically the data will be scanned and it will recommend, oh, this data looks like it's a patient ID, patient record ID. This is a social security number. This is a phone number. So this is the personally identifiable information, personally identifiable health information. So it will automatically tag it. Automatic tagging is part of our capability. That's from a productization itself. But to answer your specific question, does our NLP can identify PHI, PII? Absolutely yes, because end of the day, what NLP Albus is doing is writing a Python program. If you ask a question, look through this data and then see if there is any PII information. It would basically, because it has access to all the algorithms, it would use one of the algorithms that already is embedded with, and it would scan through and give you, oh, here is the records which seem to be PII. So answer is yes.
All right, next one. So you mentioned virtualization, but you also mentioned push down. How does that work? Do you virtualize the data like Denodo, or do you push the data down to the cloud data warehouse?
Awesome, that's a great question. That is another key differentiators. So we are solving a couple of things here. Number one, with the DataMarket, we're solving the problem of what Elation and Calibra is providing. Also, we're solving a problem of virtualization like a Denodo is doing or Starburst doing. So we are true believers, neither extremes of a full virtualization nor full persistency, which is data movement, is a good idea. So you need to hit the balance. You need to have both to be in play. Depending upon a type of data that you're dealing with, virtualization is good. Depending upon a type of data, you may have to move the data. So for say, if my data is in Snowflake, I don't want to make another copy. We can just virtualize the data using our live data products. If my data is in Snowflake and part of the data is in Salesforce, I don't want to move Salesforce data and then I want to marry it on fly. Or maybe my data is coming from a Twitter feed, or maybe my data is coming from SAP ERP. I don't want to make a copy of it. You can do a virtualization as well. So the idea is using our data products, you can either virtualize, and behind the scenes for virtualization, we use Trino, which is query federation engine, or for persistency, we basically use behind the scenes, we use Delta Lake, we cache the data within our platform. So, and that data gets refreshed automatically. So there are different means. So the whole idea here is hitting the right kind of balance, neither full virtualization nor full persistency is a good idea. We give you a right balanced approach using a product, and with this one product, you can do either implementations and pick and choose what is right for you.
Okay, here's one that's related, I think. Do the data products have to all be from the same source, or can you create data products across multiple sources?
That's another good question. The example that I have taken answering the previous question, where if my data comes from, part of the data comes from Snowflake, part of the data is sitting in Snowflake, Salesforce rather. So on fly, if you want to take my maybe orders data and maybe my leads data is sitting in Salesforce, I want to marry this data on fly so that I get a full spectrum of a pipeline. Orders that were already in my Snowflake, the leads which are yet to be transformed into orders are in my Salesforce. I can definitely, yes, we can create something called a multi-source data products within our software, and that would basically on fly merge this data and then transform and then give you the results. Answer definitely yes, that's one of our another key differentiating factor as well. If you have questions that we can talk about, but here is an example of the multi-source and a uni-source. The data could be coming from multiple sources per se. All these are coming from different sources as well. So there is a uni-source and multi-source. Both are options.
Okay, I think we have time for one more quick question. Again, I'm gonna paraphrase this one. It's essentially, if I've already got tools like Fivetran, Matillion, and all sorts of other tools, do I have to rip those out and replace those with DataMarket in order to get the benefit, or does this operate like an overlay on top of what I already have?
It sounds like all pretty scripted. Yeah, I have a slide for that.
Yeah.
So that's a great question. Yes, these are very frequent questions that we get asked. And here is a quick slide that actually depicts exactly what you're referring to. So in this case, if the data is already in your data platforms, which is like in a Snowflake or in Databricks, and you are using Matillion or Fivetran to load the data into Snowflake or a Databricks, you don't have to basically replace. We're not replacing any of your ETL tools with DataMarket. DataMarket sits on top of your data platforms. Those could be data platforms or your transactional systems. So you can either, this dotted line represents the virtualization, this solid line represents the persistency, which is caching. So this data products, DataMarket, which is a host for data products, it sits on top of your transactional systems or data platforms and creates these data products with various attributes that we talked about, which can eventually be used by, which is NLP, which is the Albus that we talked about, or a Wrangling, or your other favorite tools like Tableau, Power BI, or ThoughtSpot, third-party web applications, etc. So one-line answer, you certainly don't have to rip and replace. We basically complement, we sit on top of it. We basically make your whole data journey much more cleaner and easier so that you can take your data set and transform into data products for consumption.
All right, with that, we're right at time. So thank you so much, everybody, for attending. We will go ahead and send out this presentation, obviously not the demo part, but we'll send out the presentation and we'll send the video out as well. So as soon as that's prepared, we're going to send it out to this entire list, so you'll get a copy of that. In the meantime, if you come up with any questions, please reach out to us. You can contact us through the website here at getrightdata.com, or you probably have Wasu's contact information. You can reach out to him or anybody here at the Right Data team, and we're more than happy to answer any questions. So thanks once again for attending today's webinar.
Excellent. Thanks, everyone. See y'all.